Guys, thank you guys so much. I just want to point out, above asking is growing. Look at this room right now, guys. Who was here when we had like, come on, let's go. Come on. I remember being at Kayla's onsite and there was like 5 of us in the room, so enthusiastic. Now there's like 70 in the room. So we have 80 members. We've had 19 applications in the last 10 days. So we're trying to get the right people in the room, people that are just like you guys, collaborative, that want to be here to help each other grow, help each other win. So we're getting the right people, we're building the right culture, but we thank you guys so much for being a part of what we're building here, and we're only getting started.
Yes, so if you guys know somebody that you guys think would be a good fit for the group, like just kind of culturally, like we're looking for obviously people who are, you know, authentic, willing to share, willing to be transparent, just good people. We don't want any of like the REI.
And if you know any rich people, we like rich people.
I love rich people. So. Bring them over. I need money. Did you get one?
So Mike's a good friend, but what I love about Mike's story, and I'm going to let him introduce himself here in a second, is that he's what I've known in the few years, 7-8 years that we've known Mike. He's always growing, learning, putting himself in situations where he has to stretch, figure it out, do the work, do the time, and he's just getting better year over year over year. It's cool to be in a project like this and kind of see how it's all culminating, see how his career is taking off as an investor, as a real estate professional. But we're excited, proud to have him in the group. I'll let Mike introduce himself and what he does.
Sure.
And then we'll kick this off.
Yeah, so thanks for coming out. We appreciate everybody. This one is under contract, so please bring me a buyer for the green one. Talk to Jackie. But yeah, so background on me. I actually went to culinary school. I'm a classically trained French chef. I worked for Marriott Batali in New York City. Moved down to Florida, started a catering company, and then found out very quickly that it's 7 days a week and not a fun career to be in. So I transitioned into teaching hospitality and culinary arts. So I did that for 6 years. I served my time in the county and educated students from all over the place. And I did that, but while I was doing that, I was buying houses since 2016, 15. And every year I'd buy a house, or I'd buy another house, And then it got to the point where I was doing flips and I was making double my salary for teaching the whole year. And I was like, this doesn't really make any sense anymore. So around COVID, like 2020, 2021, I left teaching and just started doing real estate full time. So I am a certified appraiser. I do own an appraisal company here in Tampa. We traditionally work with investors, hard money lenders. We do a lot of kind of niche work. I also have some rental properties that I manage myself. We flip properties not on a full-time basis. We do it kind of as it comes. And then this is my first ground up new construction development. I've been also kind of focusing in on lots. So entitling land, splitting land, knocking houses down. Currently own 5 other lots other than this one. So looking for more in Seminole Heights. So if anybody comes up, love to purchase them. I've been with the group. I called Mark and Keeley when I heard that they were starting the group, and I was adamant that I would be a part of it in some way. Whether it be on the team as an ambassador or as a member. Knowing them for as long as I have, they were coming up, starting in real estate in Tampa, kind of the same time frame, and the most genuine people, honest. So if they're starting a group, I want to be a part of it, and that's kind of how we landed here.
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate you. All right, so I know we've done a lot of build up for this meeting, but I'm so impressed with how Mike approached the deal. So I want him to walk us through the acquisition process of the lot, how he saw the opportunity, and just kind of how we kicked this deal off.
Yeah, so how do we come about this property, right? This is actually an on-market deal. So we acquired it off of the MLS. This was on the market for not even a day before I made a full price offer with no due diligence period. Essentially, I structure my deals within a 10-minute drive from my house. So if it's not really 10 minutes from the house, I'm not really interested in it. I'll look at it, but don't really want to do it. So this one was 8 minutes from my house, so it was in the buy box. And what I've done is I've really studied the last 6 years, the niche of Seminole Heights and different streets. So I know every street, I know ARVs, I know new construction, I know flips, I know land. So that was really important to focus in on a niche, be really uber focused on it and understand it. That way you can make decisions quickly and you don't need to wait around and think about it, because most deals, if it's a true deal, it will go the day of or the day before, it's gonna go, right? So if you're seeing a deal 3 weeks after it's been on the market, it's probably not a deal unless you're gonna negotiate a deal, right? So this one was on the market one day. I noticed the owner on record owned it for a long time. I noticed the realtor wasn't transacting as much as other realtors do. I noticed that there was heirs involved. So I made a full price offer. I really utilized some of the hospitality and kind of building rapport with the realtor. I also was not a realtor at the time, so back before the whole kind of, rules changed, I offered them to take and represent me, so they got double commission. So she was very excited to go get this signed, and she went to all 5 or 6 heirs that day with the contract in hand and got it signed. They had multiple offers after mine, but we were already signed and we were good. And they were over what I asked, what I got it for. So don't sleep on the MLS, but you need to move quickly if it's on the MLS. Or on the opposite side, right, don't sleep on things that have been on for a while, right? So like look for hints. All my wholesalers in the room, I know you guys are out there looking and looking and looking, and you're looking for hints from the realtors. Are these people ready to go? There's certain hints in there that they're ready to go. So you could do either end of the spectrum on market, right? Either you're the last one or you're the first one, in my opinion, right? It's all about timing. Somebody's gonna make 3 offers that really make the owner upset, and then maybe that 4th one, they're like, okay, well, this is just a reality. So on market deal, we acquired it for $175. Didn't have an idea what I was doing with it, just knew it was a deal with, I think 100,000 spread, just off the rip due to the zoning. Yeah. And that's kind of how we got this property.
So tell us a little bit, and I'll get to your question here in just a second, Patrick. So I think this is interesting because I see you're doing a lot of this, right? This idea of either upzoning or taking advantage of by right zoning. So walk us through what that means and maybe how we can identify an opportunity like that.
Yeah, so there's spines in Tampa, thoroughfares that they bleed over into the streets a little bit, and you get density bonuses right here within 2 blocks or, down in Tampa Heights. So this is zone Seminole Heights RM, so Seminole Heights residential multifamily. It's kind of an obscure zoning. There's not many of them. There are, it is prevalent along the corridors, but not a lot of people are utilizing it. It's not as prevalent as RM16 or RM18, right? So you have to do a little digging on like what you could build here. We could build 2.7 units here. So we could almost get 3, but we couldn't get 3. So if you focus in, and then we have Seminole Heights RS, which allows for a certain amount of density as well. What I like to look at is plat books and legal descriptions. So, if you have a single family house, in my opinion right now in Seminole Heights, every single family house that's built before 1970 should be torn down. That's just my opinion. If I can get it for a tear down price, I think I'm doing a service to the neighborhood. We're within 3 miles of downtown Tampa, a 10-minute drive to downtown Tampa. This is gonna grow just like Atlanta and New York. These are gonna be $1 million houses. The little bungalows that are full of termite damage and mold, they gotta go. So every house that goes on the market, the only thing I look at is square footage of the lot and the legal description. Can I tear it down and what's the price point? Right now, that's my strategy. That's changed. I used to be like flipping them, which was fun-ish for a little while, and you made some good money, but it's not a strategy I want to continue to do. I'm very conservative, right? So I like risk to an extent, probably way less than a lot of people in this room. So for me, the way to mitigate risk is to buy things in cash, and then that way you don't have holding costs. So we didn't close a loan on this property until May 2025. So we didn't start paying interest until 3-4 months ago, right? So if we would have held it for 18 months and paid interest every single month, well, then the numbers would look a lot different, right? The lender would make a bulk of the money and we would make, small amount of money. So, financials on this project, when we bought it, we had no idea what we were gonna do. It was just kind of like buying it and we'll figure it out. Sometimes that could bite you in the ass, but in this situation, it worked out. I made a mistake. It was a crack shack. So what I mean by crack shack is there was people in it. There was homeless people sleeping back there, doing drugs back there. So for me, I was like, listen, this got to go. We got to get it out. So I got it out immediately within 4 weeks. What happened was there was a grand oak tree sitting kind of like over in that area. And as soon as you remove the house, you remove the target. Well, I thought I was doing a service to the neighborhood by removing the house, and then 6 to 8 months later, we find out like I did a bad thing, right? Like we should not have removed the house, and we should have left it here because we would have had an easier time getting rid of the trees. So we bought the property in May. We were trying to figure out what we're going to do with it. We spent 3 to 4 months with an architect, right? and we try to kind of work through some of the problems. Problem one, no one really builds on Seminole Heights RM, so there's not a lot of case studies. I found one case study fairly recently that was built similar to this, where it was like on an alley, so one of them was facing one way, one was facing the other way. It wasn't a true two street, so that was a challenge. We have to build to the Seminole Heights overlay, right? So if you looked outside, why is our porch half the size of the front, the house? Well, that's the Seminole Heights overlay. Why are there exposed rafter beams and beat board? Well, that's a Seminole Heights thing. So everything we did, garage, how far is it from the street, and yada, yada, everything we did had to fit into that little kind of thing. So that was a challenge. That took us an extra month in that. The tree, once we submitted for permitting, we got rejected. So October we submit for permitting. We didn't get a permit till January. So October, November, December, January, 4 months in permitting on plans that we worked up with an architect who's very prevalent in the neighborhood. So that was definitely a challenge, right? So a lot of the hold time for financial, if we would have had a loan on this thing, our profit margin would be way less than it is. So financials, bought the land for 175, right? We had about, I don't know what I said on here site-wise, but like when we talk about closing and holding costs, 85 grand, Mark's actual total closing and holding cost, he's saying those are site costs. So we had to take out like 16 trees. We had to dig up all the roots. We had to do tons of surveys. We had to pay the architect ×2. So all of those fees, before you even get started, you spend 85 grand. So now 175 plus 85 grand there. Financing cost, in May, we closed a loan for $775,000, and that loan, $23,000 just to close the loan. Just title, tax, points, and nonsense. We got 10 and a quarter and 1 and a quarter on the points and percentage rating, so I think we got a fair shake at that. What else did we spend money on? The cost to build, right? So originally we were like, we'll build these for like $650, $675 for both. And then we're like, well, we want 10-foot ceilings. Well, we want hardy board siding. Well, we want oversized 2-car garages. We do not want them to touch. Only the garage should touch. We want backyards. We want irrigation. We want so you start doing everything. Kitchens don't look like this, right? When you go into a Seminole Heights spec house, you don't get kitchens, to the ceiling. You don't get, oversized range. You don't get all the stuff, right? Another thing, the builder is adamant about the building science. So these homes are like super airtight. A lot of you guys came to behind the build, you've seen it. Upgraded insulation, everyth's upgraded. The whole home dehumidifier. Like there's things in this house that you just won't see anywhere else, right? 5/8 drywall to keep the sound dampening and everything out. We went solid core doors. So everything in this, we spend more money. So we spent over 700, like 720, 730 on construction. So I think we're like all in, based on this, around like $1,100,000, it looks like. Yep. We're gonna have to pay some commissions. We're gonna have to pay some concessions. We're gonna have to pay closing costs.
Can we talk about how you're making $400,000 on a 5-month build? Come on, guys.
Yes.
I'm holding time ahead.
Yeah, so, we specifically...
So I just want to point out, so when I asked Mike to cover the financials, so if you guys know Mike, he's super conservative, and he's also a Yankee. So I asked him to talk about his money, and he's like, I don't want to talk about my pockets. But it's right here. You can see the money right here.
He doesn't need any more dogs.
He went all the way around. But we're landing on the $400,000 on this project.
These are bloated numbers, all right? They're not real. Okay, I got twins on the way. This is all spent already. No, so I do have a partner, right? I'm not doing this myself. The builder's the partner. We're 50-50 partners, straight up. Build at cost. I put the land at cost. I held the land at cost, right, for all this time. So, return on investment wise, I did hold money in this project for 1.5 years. But the outcome is we didn't pay $80,000 to $100,000 to a lender, we paid that to ourselves.
So let's talk a little bit about this. I think that's so key on this project. So Mike is an investor on this project. He bought the land with cash, and then he said, hey, I'm not a builder, but I want to go ground up, of course. So he found an experienced builder with a track record of building a quality product, right? So of course he's just quarterbacking the deal, and he's finding the who's and not the hows. And I think that's important for everybody in this room, right? Find the right people. We don't know all of it. We don't know every aspect of the industry. You don't have to, right? That's why you join communities like this. That's why you network, because he found the right person. And you can see, guys, they build an amazing product, right? So I think it's important for you guys to know Mike was a pure play investor on the project. But he found the right partner to work on the project with him. That's what got him through pretty quickly without too many hiccups, and they built a great product. So tell us a little bit about the partnership structure and maybe how it unfolds.
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand, like, let's not romanticize it, right? When you're doing a partnership with someone, specifically with a large amount of money, $1 million, there could be stressors. So, the first 6 to 8 months was very stressful. We didn't know if we were building this, the city, the trees, the crackheads. I mean, there's just stuff going on, right? So I was friends with the builder prior to, for a year and a half, seeing the projects that they were doing. We talked a lot. I was appraising, building. So we got to be friendly, and I think that's really important, right? You might meet someone at a meetup. I would have more than just coffee with them if you're going to do anything like this, right? This is multiple meetings, getting comfortable. We talk every day, sometimes hours a day for the last 18 months. You should like them, yeah. And you should also make sure, we're both conservative cheap asses.
Yeah.
So
it's good to be aligned that way.
I would say you spend wisely. You guys weren't cheap on the build.
No, not cheap on the build, but just cheap in general, so that way we're on the same page where we need to be, what we're doing, prioritizing money, yada, yada, yada. So I think that's really important, to kind of find someone you could jive with. You'll meet a lot of people at these meetups, and you'll meet a lot of people. Just gonna make sure, as personally being more conservative and aversion, because I've been through flips with partners that were horrible, because I didn't do my due diligence. You think you're friends with someone, and then you get going. So number one, yeah. So we did a straight deal here because we were friends, and we didn't start the deal nickel and diming each other, right? So my acquisition cost of the land was $175, but it could be argued that the land was worth $275. So do I charge my partnership the cost basis to steal that 100 grand off the rip? It's not a good way to start a partnership. The builder could build at what he built at, or he could have tacked on 20%.
Sure.
Okay, he tacks on 20%, then I'm going to tack on 20%. And now we're just charging each other rather than being like, hey, let's get it done. What are you doing? What are you paying for? There's never been a question. Never been a call, you need to pay for this, you need to pay for this. We've just been figuring it out as professionals. And when you're dealing with a professional, that's kind of what happens. So I think that's kind of do your homework, do your due diligence. It's been smooth this whole time, but it's a 50-50 pure split, and no issues here. I did get advantageous loan terms on the construction loan because of the experience of the builder, right? I don't have any experience. I have a bunch of flip experience and flipping land and flipping houses, but nothing like this. So I probably would have to pay 12 and 2, I'm not paying 12 and 2. I'm just not doing that. I wouldn't do it. I just sell the land and make my 100 and keep on. I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, it's crazy.
I'm going to make that 400 grand,
So, yeah, I think that, is definitely the big takeaway for this is don't jump into bed with somebody that you don't know. Make sure you do the due diligence. Make sure on the side. We met before we started. So.
Sure. So here's what I think is pretty awesome here too, because you worked with an experienced builder. You were pretty hands-off from a project management perspective, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What did it look like for you over the last, let's call it 6 months? What was your involvement in the project management, if any at all, right?
Definitely. So yeah, in the beginning, I was overly involved. We were on weekly calls with the architect. We were designing, we were talking. I was handling all of the city nonsense and making sure the sewer connections and the water connections. We had to do an easement for utilities and do a zoning covenant, and there's all these things. I was just figuring it out. Legal Zoom and Googling and calling other people and trying to figure it out. So in the beginning, very involved. Even up until we started building, I was here pretty much when we started building here every day. But realistically, the builder said you could be as involved or not as involved as you like. Well, I got 2 kids, 3.5 and 1.5. My wife's pregnant with twins. So the last couple months, I have not been involved at all. So it's just trying to survive right now. So I do come here. I was here this morning. We cleaned the whole place up. I, come if I need to meet somebody, fence guy, this guy, that guy. I've been big on contacting the neighbors. One called the cops on us, and the other one's texting me every day, right? We got gift baskets for them. We're going to give them gift baskets. I did that.
So whatever. Things.
So that kind of stuff. But yeah, over project management though, the builder did all the project management. It's a design build firm, so they designed the colors and the cabinets. They asked my opinion. I said, I don't care. Let's do it nice. I've already seen your product. I know what you do. So I don't need to be involved. I could care less, purely from an investor standpoint, what these look like, or like I know what it's going to look like generally, and I don't need to be involved in the day-to-day. It's not my job, That's not my strong suit. I'm more of a, project manager, paperwork-wise. I have a spreadsheet for everything, and I'm organized. Yep. So like for me, that was kind of what I was handling. And now I'm handling all the financials loan-wise, making the payments, the electric, disconnecting, moving, this, that, the other thing. Fighting with people on the phone, that's kind of where I come in. But also my partner is the same way, but on the other side, fighting with trades who, move stuff, broke stuff. I mean, you name it, it's happened here.
What do you think went well with this project?
I think everything went well. I think it turned out better than expected. As far as design standpoint, how we did this. In the beginning, we didn't know. You got this lot. What is it going to look like? You got 2 giant houses on it. But it really, and then like when they started laying it out, I was like getting nervous. But what we did was we recessed the second floor back. And it really, when you look at it from the street, it feels like more private.
Sure.
And I think that was really successful, the design aspect of it. And really like those nights on Zoom and fighting about this and that and this and that and spending the time. Keely looked at the plans for us several times. A couple of things we didn't use that I was pissed because now I'm looking at it in real life and I'm like, this is so annoying that we didn't do it. But on the positive side, the design, how it came out, I think it's setting this neighborhood up for success, right? So all these other little kind of bungalows, like someone sees that someone built this, and it's gonna kind of be a domino effect. So neighborhood-wise, it's good, and I think for portfolio-wise, it's great as well.
What would you say the core challenges were with the project, if any?
Yeah, so challenge-wise is working with people, for the first time and doing everything for the first time, building something that's never been built before in the city of Tampa where nobody knows what the rules and regulations are. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So big time, challenge there, right? Building something different and putting yourself, pretty much the builder that I work with never builds the same thing twice, which is cool, but it's stressful, right? So if you look at other builders, they build the same thing on different lots.
Sure.
So that's challenging, but it's rewarding when you see it done.
Yep, love that. And what advice would you give to an investor in the group, either getting into their first ground up project or just wanting to get into a project like this one?
I would definitely run your numbers and do your due diligence before you buy anything and really hone in if it's West Tampa or South Tampa or, Clearwater, hone in and really understand the market and do some research and, before you jump into something like this. Because you can just, Seminole Heights, it's a lot, and you buy it and you're like, oh man, I didn't know there was the grand oak tree and they won't let me take it down. There's so many nuances to it.
Flesh that out a little bit more. What are some of the other things that I should be looking out for as a part of that due diligence process when I'm doing my underwriting, my analysis, running my numbers? Yeah,
so on any deal, I would look at trees. If you're looking at flips, you should be looking at foundation, right? Termite damage, attics, things like that. The sewer line is big on a flip. On these new construction ones, though, you're more worried about trees. You're worried on setbacks. For this one, you're worried about impervious calculations. So we built these big houses on a 7,200 square foot lot. So we had to do a 100-foot trench from back there all the way around the house, 2 feet deep, filled with pipes and rocks. $15,000.
Impervious is the water that can go through the ground, right? So
Correct.
if you have too much concrete covering the ground, water can't go through that. So there's a calculation there.
Yes. So they made us put the sidewalks in, no problem. They go nowhere, but whatever. That's a whole other ordeal with the city. But we put them in, so they look great. You can walk to the telephone pole, and you can walk to, a fence.
One day.
Yeah, somebody will connect them one day. So we put those in. We're over impervious, meaning when the rainwater comes down, which I agree with because flooding is a problem, but when the rain comes down, you need to catch all the extra water you're shedding. So we got gutters, we have the underground, it pops up, and then we had that trench. So the trench is retaining some of the water. What we did was we slid the property line for that one further. So that one's 3,900 square feet. This one's 3,400 square feet or something like that. So we did not have to do a trench on that one, but we had to do a trench on this one. Good. So that's why we got the cops called on us, because we couldn't fit our, scooper or whatever you want to call it, our Bobcat in there. So they went around, and next thing you know, the police are here. Lucky enough that our site guy was a firefighter, so the cop knew him, and they were cool, and we let us finish our thing. But there's always, something that you're going to deal with for sure.
All right, Q&A from the group. Who has a question for Mike? This is the time. Patrick, I'm sorry.
I don't have any money.
Long time ago.
Tell me, Patrick.
I was going to ask you what size is the lot. I think you just said it's 3,700 for both of the houses.
Yep, 7,200 square feet.
7,200. And you said it was like a 2 and you could put about 2.5.
2.7, we were short for 3. So imagine, I think it's about, in Seminole Heights overlay, I think it's about 3,000 square feet lot per unit for multifamily.
Okay, so.
So if you got if you got 9,000 square feet on RM, you could put 3. But once you go to 3, you have to have an HOA, and you have to do, parking becomes an issue, and you're probably gonna have to dig a ginormous hole and retain all your water on site. So what happens is, like, I think personally, if we would have been able to get 3 on this, you're also cutting down your backyard space, you're cutting down the porches. So what happens is I think we would become those stucco square box.
Yeah.
And then our ARV would be less and our site cost would be more. So we probably net the same, but then you're dealing with all that extra stuff. So this is single family semi-detached. We're selling them completely separate, legal descriptions, folio numbers. The only thing that touches is the garage. So the garage is not living space, it's a firewall. They only touch the garage. So our selling feature is that they're not triple stacked, like the ones you're seeing all over the market. So you're not walking up and down stairs, you don't have shared walls, you have windows everywhere, and that's the selling feature. If you want this beautiful house on your own land in this neighborhood, this is a custom house, right? 10-foot ceilings, 2,200 square feet, 4.3, anywhere from $850 to $1 million, right? A friend of mine is here today. He built a beautiful product, 500 square foot bigger than this. It's $1 million house. And it's on the market right now for $1 million. So if you want to save money and you want to have the same quality but a little bit smaller of a lot, you can buy this house. That's our kind of selling feature on this, and that's kind of what makes it unique.
Great work, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, are you block all the way up or is it stick on block?
This is block and then zip on the second floor. Yep. We thought about doing block all the way up, but the zip system, it's kind of been a proven system, and the architect, that's typically what they do. We had a little, snafu where we thought we were going to get assessed with the tariffs. Luckily, we bought the wood prior to the tariffs going into effect from Canada. So we were kind of getting nervous, like, shit, we should have did block all the way up, but then it worked out. So yeah, it's zip all the way up, and then on our floor joists and stuff, they're all upgraded materials. So like if you're walking upstairs, you don't really hear it down here. It's thicker, everything's thicker. So.
How much did you save going to zip system instead of block all the way up?
I think it's not that big of an amount, to be honest. I'm not an expert in that, but there is a margin, but if you factor in certain things, it's pretty similar. We were gonna do stucco on the first floor and then hardy board on the second. I was very adamant that it'd be hardy board all around, just because I think it looks so much better. It's way more expensive, but I think it sells the house. So.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about the legal structure of the property with the partnership and whether there was any tax strategy behind that as well?
Repeat the last part, I'm sorry, tax?
Whether you had any tax strategy behind the legal structure?
Yeah, there's no strategy here. This is zero strategy. We got no strategies.
Get it done.
We're just getting it done. I'm on title. The partner was not on title, right? So it's just me.
A lot of trust.
Yeah, a lot of trust.
10 out of 10, do not recommend this. Attorneys and contracts, that's what you want.
This,
Nothing.
this is a unique scenario, though.
This is friends.
They know each other. They're connected.
Well, we talked about doing it, and we both were busy, and we got started, we started building it. Next thing you know, it's all done. He's like, you gonna get the loan? I'm like, I'll get the loan. And next thing we had a loan, and we started taking money, and it was like,
It
now
does
we're
say
done.
a lot about Mike that the builder's like, hey, let's just get it going. And
There's trust.
I know you'll be good with me in the end.
There's
so.
trust. I mean, we didn't.
From a taxing perspective, when they go to close, the cash will be transferred by 1099 to the builder.
Correct.
So the builder will basically get like a consulting income fee.
Just like
right?
a cost,
builder fee.
a cost plus.
A
It's the
cost
same
plus,
thing.
but it'll be equivalent to half the equity in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just
So your net is actually your net.
Yes. They split it in half, 50-50, right?
50-50.
At closing
We didn't
through
nickel and dime each
Yeah.
other.
Right.
So you're not paying taxes on his income?
No.
Yeah, he'll get a 1099.
I'm gonna pay it just like I pay a contractor, just like a cost to build the house. Just like if you hire someone cost plus 25%, well, that 25% is there.
And from the builder's perspective, in this case, it's more or less the same. If you're short-term capital gains, you're just getting taxed at your income rate, right? So he's started the project, let's say February is when they went vertical. Now they're exiting in, let's call it September, October. It's still under 12 months. It's from a taxing perspective, he's getting taxed the same way as if he was a full partner on title in the project. So it all works out the same. It's just a wash.
Yeah, so like obviously it's unique, and I would not say to do that with anyone else, but it just happened, and there was mutual respect and trust, and you know, for us, it was like, let's just keep doing what we're doing here and let's get it done. And, you know, you're always waiting for something to happen, but nothing happened. So knock on wood, you know.
This was an amazing project. Amazing.
Last question for Mike before we wrap up. Khalil, go for it.
Khalil.
I think it was just a learning point on the trees. So you remove
Remove 16.
16 trees, and then the mitigation was how many?
We had to put 19 trees times $300 each. If you don't put the trees in, you have to mitigate the trees. $300 a pop. Yep. So we spent a lot of money in landscaping, but we still didn't get the credits. I still got to write a check for $1,800.
Jeez.
Also, our impact fees, you know, speaking of fees, 18 grand. Our sewer tap fees, you know, 8,000, 7,000. They just hit you with any fee, and if you don't argue with them, they just, you know.
Sure.
We already built the house, and they wanted to move the sewer lines. We already had run the sewer, and then they didn't respond back to us. We put in an October utility permit. They didn't get back to us till February when we started building, of course, because they don't care. And then we already had our plan to run to the alley. And they were like, no, we're going to put it on 9th Street. We're going to do a new lateral. I'm like, I'm not paying for that. We already built the houses. Yeah. And our stuff is running that way. It's not going all the way around the house to go out that way. So like that was an argument. They had, you know, the builder took over and like explained to them what we're doing. And so yeah, there's like all that nuances, you know, the tree, I had to have 4 arborists write that tree up. We had to dig the roots out, go in the canopy and get pictures, yada, yada. And then we had the neighbors write emails that they said it was unsafe. I mean, it took 2 months. We didn't think we were going to get approved to build.
Yeah.
They were saying we had to build a house around the tree and do raised subfloor and redesign, because you have to be 20 feet from the freaking trunk, and the tree was gonna fall over as soon as after we built it. The guy was like, it's gonna end up falling on the house. You're gonna have to take it out after the house built. I'm like, I'm not doing this. So we went down. We finally found the right guy. He said he'll go out there tomorrow morning, take a look just for himself, and then boom, approved. It's like, thank God, because you know I was really stressed out about that. I spent already $175 plus all the stuff, and I'm like, man, if we can't build, you know, we have to redesign another 15 grand in architecture, you know,
Yeah.
so.
Yep. So I want to thank Mike, one of course for today, but first and foremost, Mike shows up on our Friday calls. He helps everybody out with their valuations. He's always open for phone calls. He runs a business. He gives a lot of free advice to this group. He connects the way that we want a member to connect, openly, here to help other people win. Brought us to this amazing project. He gave us a prime example of how to make a few $100 grand in a few months, right? Just being smart, making smart moves, picking the right partners. But grateful for Mike opening up the doors to this amazing project. Congratulations on this success and continued success. Thank you guys. Mingle and wrap up when you're ready.
The green one, it's open, and there's still a bunch of food.
Bring some buyers, come on. Bring me a buyer on the green one. Thanks for seeing me.
Oh, I'm amazed by the level of design, the level of detail they have in everything they have done. Pretty impressive.
They did an amazing job on the property. The finishes are top notch. Unlike anything that I've seen in the Tampa area. Great job.
It's amazing.
Are we moving in?
We're moving in.
Yes.
Finishes we don't see anywhere else.